Are you guys familiar with this concept called reframing? I would love to tell you I've been thinking about reframing for a long time, but when I first understood and heard the concept, I found out like how universal and applicable this concept is. I'll make an analogy if you'll allow me. If you think about a piece of art and you put a frame around it that's cheap and ugly, does the value of the art go up or down? And you have this beautiful multi-$1,000 painting and people look at it like, is that a knockoff? You know that. And that's why when we take a piece of crap art and we put a beautiful frame around it and we also frame it on the wall with certain lighting and we get rid of all the clutter around it, the value of that art in our perception goes up. So that's what reframing is. It just allows us to look at a problem from a different point of view. You'll start to learn that the packaging or the presentation of ideas matters a lot. So I'm going to ask for a volunteer. What is your name, friend?
My name is Hal.
Like the evil computer Hal?
Misunderstood computer Hal.
Reframe right there. Beautiful job. Well done. Are you ready? Yeah. So I'm going to put this sentence up and I just want you to read it, okay? Can you read this for me?
A woman without her man is nothing.
Okay, now I would like to throw the microphone to a woman, please. Can you read this for me, please?
A woman without her man is nothing.
Beautiful. And just great voiceover right there. You see like how we look at things, the meaning changes even though the words are exactly the same. And it largely depends on where you put the punctuation. So a woman without her man is nothing, or a woman without her man is nothing. Okay, so let's look at reframing in the context of business. In the book, What's Your Problem? They do business consulting and they teach lots of different concepts. And they said that reframing is the most popular, most in-demand thing that they're asked to teach large groups of people. So talk about the problem of an elevator. It's a frustration point for all of us, right? And so in the book, they talk about it, which is how do we make the elevator go faster? The solutions come up, well, we'll buy a faster elevator. But if we were to reframe the problem, it's the frustration that people feel waiting for the elevator. So if we ask a different question, if we ask the question of how do we lessen the frustration that people have while waiting for the elevator, what kind of solutions come up now? What do you think? That might be a solution. Have music, put a TV in the lobby, have some snacks. See, now we're activating your creativity, and all those options are much cheaper than buying a brand new elevator. This is why they put mirrors in the elevator area. Because when you push the button, you're like, oh, I'm a selfie, you just do that. And you forget the whole thing. It's just this concept of reframing, and it can be applied to so many different things, including the way you look at the world. So one of the biggest things that I struggle with is, as a teacher and as a coach, I try to help people. I want to give you more tools. I want to give you techniques. I want to give you frameworks. And then I do that, then what's the problem now? What do you think the problem is?
Everyone just follows the formula without actually thinking about why.
I wish that were the case.
I think a big issue is lack of focus, lack of clarity.
Lack of focus, lack of clarity. That's a pretty good guess too. We'll take one more guess. Let's throw the mic over to him.
Execution.
Why? Why do you think that is?
I think there's a lot of information out there and people just don't know what to follow.
I'm hearing lots of problems here. Let me rephrase. Why don't people do what they came to learn to do? Why aren't you in the best shape of your life? Why aren't you making the most amount of money you could be making? Why aren't you zipping through all your classes and killing and crushing, getting an A+ everywhere?
My guess is it's because people don't like being told what to do.
So let me ask you a question. You hire a personal trainer. You don't do what they say. You go to school. You pay a ton of money for tuition and you don't do what the teacher says. Who are you hurting? Who are you rebelling against right now?
I just think that's the mindset that people have, is they don't like someone to tell them what to do.
Okay, so here's the conundrum, right, Petrula? Why pay someone to tell you what to do, only not to do it?
If somebody's telling you something and you're paying them to tell you something, but you don't do it, does that mean you don't believe them? Or are you just lazy?
I'm going to lean more towards the first answer than the latter.
I'm thinking the need for instant gratification and avoiding hard work, like wanting instant result by doing the least amount of effort. Like almost I come to see you, ask for the solution, you tell me, but it somehow appears by me paying you versus me having to fail over and over again and doing it over and over again, because things that are worth achieving are only worth achieving because you put in the time, effort, and sacrifices.
It got a lot deeper than I thought it was going to go. I've been thinking about this as a coach, as a teacher. Other teachers here, I'm sure, have thought about this too. Patrilla, what do you think the answer is?
It doesn't make sense to them at the time. It will, but it doesn't at the time.
That's a great answer. So there's a disconnect between the solution and what they see the problem to be. In the Matrix, the Oracle tells Neo, don't worry about the vase. He's like, what vase? And he knocks it over. It's like, oh, that vase. So maybe as teachers, we have to give solutions that are more directed to a problem that students can see right away. I asked my students this before and realized I'm a horrible teacher. I was having a conversation with somebody. We came to an observation that may or may not be true, but I like it, so it's going to be true to me for right now. There are some people who can learn by just giving them just very high level information. They could read the book cover, the table of contents, and they got the concept. Those tend to be leaders, managers, and innovators. They just get ideas really fast. Then there's the kinds of students and the learners who really need it told in a story format. That's why parables work really well. Then there's this pesky third type that we'll call like the kinesthetic learner. Like, well, believe it when I see it. It might be true for you, but it's not true for me. I'm going to do it myself. We had this conversation in my class over 10 years ago, and I polled the class. I said, based on just these 3 types of learners, and you had to pick one, which type do you most self-identify with? What do you think? Right? Mother freaking number 3. I'm worthless. No matter what I say, you're not going to do it anyways. I don't understand this. So to me, they become almost uncoachable. Okay. So a friend of mine was telling me about a Japanese concept. He said, Chris, you're going to really like this. It's called shu, ha, and ri. Anybody here Japanese? Okay, if I screw this up, forgive me. There's this Japanese concept. It's called shu, ha, ri, where shu is about you, and it literally means protect. Your master, your teacher, shares something with you, teaches you a method. Your main obligation is to protect the idea, to preserve it in its purest form. And this process takes about 10 years to do. Those 10,000 hours that Malcolm Gladwell talks about, you got to put in the time. You already see the problem, everybody? Yeah, we're not even to part 2 yet. So ha means to break, shatter, and to destroy, where you question everything. Now, whatever the master, sensei says to do, why do we do it this way? Wouldn't it work better if I stood this way? And you start to look for different ways of doing things. Ri means to leave or to depart. Once you've protected and mastered it and did exactly as you were told, and then you test it and you break it, then you reduce it down and combine it to make your own martial art. I'm a fan of pop culture. Did you know Kill Bill? So Uma Thurman plays a very typical archetype, independent, headstrong female who thinks she already knows what she needs to know. But Bill, her sensei, her master, says, hey, go learn with Pai Mei. And she shows up stubborn, obstinate, and he just tortures her. And he treats her worse than a dog. Quite literally, if you've seen it. It's a wonderful film. Speaks to my heart. You know, I got all like emotional inside when he did that. After a while, he breaks her spirit. She realizes she knows nothing. And then she actually comes to respect and love Pai Mei. So she had to leave this part behind because she wants to break. So many of you are in this space trying to learn something, working with a coach or a teacher. You're just trying to either leave or break the whole time. So I think there's a mindset problem in the way that we learn. I'm not saying you have to be obedient. I don't think you have to do it for 10 years, but for a period of time, just try to do it the way you're instructed until you master that. Kirby Fergusson put out this series of videos. They're really brilliant, called Everything is a Remix. He has this formula. He says everything in art and culture relies on this formula: copy, transform, combine. And I interviewed Kirby. He's like, everything in music and art, you first copy, and this is how you learn how to do anything. You copy, and the more faithful you can copy something, the better you are. Your ability to copy is actually a sign of your intellect. Do you know that forgers have a very high IQ? You gotta copy, okay? And I kind of debated with Kirby, like, don't you combine before you transform? You combine things first. You copy this, and you copy that, you copy this, and then you're able to transform it.